I was sitting at the dinner table, watching Jake go on about his passion and his new job while my parents soaked it all in like sponges. They laughed, nodded, and praised him as though he had just conquered Mount Everest. Meanwhile, I sat there in invisible presence. My parents gave me the obligatory, "How's work, Alex?" But I knew the drill. They'd ask, I'd answer, and the conversation would swing right back to Jake. That night, however, something snapped in me. Maybe it was the fact that I had just closed a major project at work, a deal that had taken months of 14-hour days and sleepless nights. Or maybe I was just sick of playing second fiddle. Whatever it was, I decided it was time to push back. I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I just closed a huge deal at work. It's one of the biggest our team has ever handled. My dad barely looked up from his plate. That's good. Busy is good, he mumbled. Jake snorted. Man, you need to loosen up, Alex. Life isn't all about work, you know? I clenched my fists under the table. It's not about work. It's about being taken seriously for once. The table fell silent. My mom gave me that look, the one that screamed, "Don't ruin the evening." Jake leaned back in his chair, smirking as if this whole thing was a joke to him. "What are you talking about?" My mom asked finally. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "I'm talking about how Jake gets to breeze through life, making mistake after mistake, and you two act like he's some kind of hero. Meanwhile, I've been busting my ass, and it's like I don't even exist to you." Mom gasped. "Alex, that's not fair, isn't it?" I shot back. "Jake crashes Dad's car, and its boys will be boys. I forget to take out the trash, and I'm grounded for a month. Do you have any idea how that feels?" My dad set his fork down, his expression hardening. "Watch your tone." "No," I said, my voice rising. "I'm done watching my tone. I'm done sitting here pretending everything's fine when it's not. You've made it clear who your favorite is, and it's not me." Jake laughed nervously. "Dude, this isn't about favorites. You're just wound too tight." I turned to him, my anger boiling over. "You don't get to tell me how to feel. Jake, you've never had to work for anything in your life. You screw up, and they cover for you. I screw up, and I'm the family disappointment." Dad's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "We are not having this conversation here." I stood up, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Of course we're not, because it's easier to ignore the truth. But you know what? I'm done trying to prove myself to you." I grabbed my coat and left without looking back. As I drove home, my mind raced. Years of resentment and frustration had just spilled out. Part of me felt relieved. I had finally said what I needed to say, but another part of me felt like I had just set fire to the only bridge I had left with my family. The weeks that followed were tense. My parents didn't call, and I wasn't about to be the one to reach out first. Jake texted me once, a half-hearted "you good?" which I ignored. Work became my escape. I threw myself into it, staying late at the office, volunteering for projects just to keep my mind off the mess I'd left behind. Then, out of the blue, my mom called. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hi, Alex," she said, her voice unusually soft. "Hi, Mom." There was a long pause. "We've been thinking about what you said." I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say to that? "We want to talk," she continued, "as a family." The word family hit me like a punch to the gut. I wanted to believe her, but part of me couldn't shake the feeling that this was just another attempt to sweep everything under the rug. "I'll think about it," I said finally. "Okay, let me know." I hung up and stared at my phone. For the first time in years, my parents seemed willing to listen, but could I trust them to actually hear me? Or was this just another performance? Another way to keep Jake on his pedestal while I stayed in the shadows? I didn't know the answer, but one thing was clear. Whatever came next, I wasn't going to stay silent. Not anymore. A few months after the blowout with my family, things at work began to get strange. At first, it was small stuff. Emails I was sure I had sent mysteriously vanished from my outbox. A client meeting I'd spent weeks preparing for was suddenly rescheduled without my knowledge. I looked like an idiot when I showed up to the wrong conference room. At first, I chalked it up to bad luck or my own oversight. Maybe I was overworked and slipping up more than usual. But then the rumors started. It began subtly, whispers in the break room that stopped the moment I walked in, colleagues avoiding eye contact or cutting off conversations when I appeared. Then came the accusations. Someone reported me to HR for inappropriate behavior, specifically sending unprofessional messages to a junior colleague. I was blindsided. I hadn't sent anything remotely inappropriate to anyone. When I confronted the HR manager, Laura, she showed me printed screenshots of messages supposedly from my work email. I stared at the printouts in disbelief. The messages were crude, embarrassing, and completely fabricated. "This isn't me," I said, my voice shaking. Someone set me up. Laura's expression softened, but I could tell she was skeptical. Alex, I want to believe you, but this is serious. We'll conduct a full investigation. In the meantime, I'm recommending a temporary suspension. Just like that, years of hard work and dedication were thrown into jeopardy. I left the office that day feeling humiliated and betrayed. At home, I tried to piece together what was happening. Who would go out of their way to sabotage me? I didn't have any enemies at work. At least I thought I didn't. The next day, I got a call from my mentor at work, Marcus. He had been at the company for decades and had taken me under his wing when I first joined. He sounded hesitant on the phone. Alex, can we meet? We met at a quiet cafe away from the office. Marcus leaned in close, his voice low. I don't know how to say this, but you need to watch your back. What are you talking about? I asked, my confusion mounting. There are people at the company who want you out, he said. I've been hearing things, rumors about you, your work ethic, even your personal life. None of it sounds like you, but people are starting to believe it. Who's behind it? I asked, my frustration boiling over. Marcus hesitated. I don't know for sure, but I heard someone mention a name. Nathan. Nathan was a mid-level manager I barely interacted with. Why would he have it out for me? None of this made sense. Things escalated quickly. HR's investigation turned up enough fabricated evidence to justify stripping me of a promotion I'd been working toward for years. A position that would have come with a $200,000 salary. Losing that opportunity felt like a punch to the gut. Meanwhile, something else caught my attention, Jake. Over the past few months, he had undergone a sudden and dramatic transformation. He was wearing expensive tailored suits, flashing a new luxury watch, and posting photos of extravagant trips to Europe on social media. Jake, who'd always been barely scraping by, now looked like he was living the high life. I confronted him about it during a rare family gathering. Nice watch, I said, trying to keep my tone casual. Jake smirked. Thanks. It's a Rolex. Must have cost a fortune, I said, eyeing him suspiciously. How'd you afford it? Jake shrugged. I've been investing. Got lucky with some crypto. Kuripito? Jake could barely manage a checking account. And now he was some kind of financial wizard? I didn't buy it. Later that night, I decided to dig deeper. I scoured his social media looking for clues. The photos from Europe were flashy. Jake posing in front of the Eiffel Tower, dining at Michelin-starred restaurants, lounging on a yacht in the Mediterranean. But something felt off. The captions were vague, and the timing of the post didn't match up with the timestamps on his flight receipts. Then things took an even darker turn. I received an anonymous email. The subject line read, "You're being played." Attached was a folder of screenshots and documents, evidence that someone had been using a proxy server to access my work email and send those fabricated messages. The IP address traced back to Jake's apartment. I stared at the screen, my stomach churning. Jake was sabotaging me. But why? What did he have to gain from ruining my career? The next day, I confronted him. I showed up at his apartment unannounced, clutching the printouts from the anonymous email. What the hell is this, Jake? I demanded, shoving the papers in his face. He glanced at them briefly before smirking. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice trembling with rage. You've been hacking into my email, spreading rumors, and screwing with my career. Jake leaned back against the counter, his smirk widening. Because you always thought you were better than me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're ruining my life because of some petty sibling rivalry? Jake's expression darkened. It's not petty. You've always been the favorite, Alex. The golden boy with the perfect job and perfect life. Mom and Dad might not see it, but I do. And I'm done living in your shadow. My mind was reeling. I'm the favorite? Are you delusional? They've worried about you since we were kids. Jake laughed bitterly. Keep telling yourself that. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to punch him. You've crossed the line, Jake. I don't care what your problem is. You're going to fix this, or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you've done. His smirk faltered for a moment, replaced by something colder, more calculated. Good luck proving it, he said. And even if you do, who do you think they'll believe? The charming older brother, or the workaholic with a chip on his shoulder?